Hey, Dorethia, welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
Hey, Dorethia.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. We've known you for a little while, but we haven't been able to connect the schedules to make this interview happen until now. So we're super glad to have you here on the His and Her Money Show. But for those who may not know you, can you just take a moment and introduce yourself to everybody and let them know what you're all about?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, when people are looking for a realistic way to save money, get out of debt, create a financial life plan, I'm huge on financial life plans, they call me. They might be looking to write a book or start a business or a nonprofit, and they call me to help them with realistic strategies to reach those goals. I'm a personal finance and business coach, founder of MoneyChat, and author of MoneyChat the book.
Love that. Love that. So you have this saying of owning your success, right?
Yes.
So I love that. Owning your success. What does that actually mean?
A lot of times when you talk to people and when I speak at events, you hear a lot of complaints about what the company doesn't do or nobody will mentor me or these kind of things. And owning your success is about being proactive and ensuring that you reach your career goals, not only depending on the company to send you to this professional development or to pay for this class, but positioning yourself in such a way that you are able to pay for it yourself, to make sure that you can get certifications if you want them, if the company won't cover it. Making sure that your leaders also know that you are actively making sure that your success, whether they help you or not, is happening, that you are on it, that you're on top of your game plan for your career. And then you just make sure that in passing conversation, you bring it up at the company lunch or the, outing. You say, oh, yes, I went to this whatever professional development event. And they'll kind of say, oh, okay. They'll know that it's probably not something they pay for, but that shows them that you're owning your own success. You are going to make it happen, move forward in your career, reach the spot that they're in or go further, whether the company offers that or not. And not complaining in that. There's a lot of complaining that goes on. You know what I mean? So they may not offer it because it's just not in the budget. Maybe the leadership does not see the reasoning for it. Whatever the reasoning is, you can't let that stop you from growing.
Good.
Speaking of growing, a lot of people are trying to grow in the area of personal finance. They're trying to figure out how to get their money together and moving in the right direction. And they automatically think, okay, I have to cut back here. I have to figure out how to save money there. And that's one part of the equation. But a lot of times people stop right there and they put all their focus intensely on trying to figure out how to slash their budget, how to save money in certain areas. Why is it just as important to put a lot of focus and attention on learning or figuring out ways to increase income in order to hit financial goals that we have for ourselves?
Because, if you think about it, increasing your income increases your financial stability, right? So the more income that you have coming in, the less you have to cut, right? And increasing your income leads you to that ultimate wealth building. You have to have a career plan. You have to have a financial plan. Where do you want to be professionally in 3, 5, 10 years? And how much money do you want to make as you're growing, right? So there's a balance, just like with everything else. Yes, I'm going to cut expenses and I'm going to live light and do whatever I've got to do so that I can breathe easy, right? But at the same time, I'm going to maximize this career path that I'm on. I'm going to go to any training that I can go to. I'm going to make sure that my boss, manager, leadership knows that I am interested in growth versus just sitting at a desk or wherever or just working on the line and saying, this is what I'm going to do. I'm good here. If you don't talk about it, nobody knows about it. So you must cut expenses, right? But you also must focus on increasing your income.
So how do you advise people in making the mental shift to try to, go higher, whether it be in their career or their personal life?
I'm going to tell you something. I have talked to people, and it's easy for this to happen. I've talked to people who've been in a position for so long that they don't think they can do anything else. Even at one time, I switched jobs because I had to know for myself that I could do something else. I had just been in it too long. And I was like, there's gotta be something else going on. And I made that leap. And I've talked to other people like that. There's a lot of limiting beliefs around upward mobility. So they've been in a job so long they don't think they can because they feel like they don't know how to do anything else. And there are others who have a mindset of worrying more about the company's bottom line than their own. Oh, they don't do this and they don't do that, and they don't have the budget for this, and they can't give me a raise or this kind of thing, or I'm not qualified for that job. And there's a couple things there. First of all, once you've been the person sitting at the table when some of these decisions have been made, like I have, those smoke-filled room conversations where we watch rules be broken, you realize every rule can be broken. And people do not have to worry about the company's bottom line. Worry about your household, your bottom line, your goals. Put it out there on the table within reason, right? What you want, and make the decision that you're going to ask for it, that you are going to go after what you're looking for. But the other piece of this is about just planning and writing it down and doing your research. Preparation takes away fear, right? So the more you increase your skill set, that preparation, knowing like, okay, yeah, I took this course or I took this certification, I'm ready, right? That's that preparation meets opportunity kind of thing. So I think that helps with the mindset, the way we think about things.
Now, in that same vein, if people are listening to you and they're kind of having like a revelation type moment, like, yeah, I could do a little bit better. I could, do this or do that. Or they're saying to themselves, man, I need to figure out how to go higher in my company or how to be better positioned to be more marketable in my career path. What are some things that they need to be considering? Because you kind of mentioned taking maybe some courses or something like that, but how can they like begin to brainstorm some things that they need to do that will make them more marketable, that will position them to be in a place to where they can demand more income?
What I would say is, number one, you have to look at the lay of the land, right? You have to understand your industry. You have to know, talk to your colleagues who are in other levels who maybe have different certifications. I would say that the first step is to work on the smaller things, what they call the low-hanging fruit, necessarily talking to your colleagues, finding out, what did you do? What kind of things are offered? How did you do this? And then find out how you can go to this course or that class. I'm not necessarily suggesting, it depends on where everybody is, of course, on their career path. If you have a bachelor's degree, or maybe you have a master's, or maybe you don't have any degree. So each decision that you make is based on where you are, right? So what I'm saying is start where you are, that requires the least amount of cash outlay, necessarily not trying to go back and get, a whole other degree or anything like that, but start where you are. What can you do in your current role to make sure that to reach that next level?
Yeah, I like that. So how can someone not focus so much in, let's say, earning more money, but they also need to focus on the discipline of their finances? I think so many times people are like, okay, well, I just need another job, or I need to get a side hustle, so let me just make more money. But that doesn't necessarily correct the situation. So how important is financial management in this case?
Financial management is very important, because even as you make more money, we've all seen this happen. If you just spend it because you didn't learn that structure, it does you no good. So I think that the foundation is financial management, learning those basics, starting with the budget. I know everybody hates it. They're like, the B word. It's not nobody. And I heard people say, even, nobody does that anymore. But I'm going to tell you something. Yes, they do. You have to do the budget, spending plan, whatever you want to call it, just do it. You have to sit down and do an audit. Look at your finances, what's coming in. I tell them all the time, keep it simple. What's coming in? what's going out. Now, if it's red at the bottom, you've got to look and sit and settle and come to grips with what you need to do. Because it doesn't matter how much money you make. I coach people who make six figures times 2, 3, and 4. And they're in the same place as somebody who makes $8, $9 an hour. In fact, somebody who makes $8, $9 an hour might be in a better position, to be honest. I've seen it because of how they manage their money. Just calm down, start with the basics, make it easy. Money in, money out. Write it down. Put it in a notebook if you're not a spreadsheet person. There are apps. There's something out here for everyone. So you have to just stop, just settle yourself. Stop kind of, we're kind of just everywhere. We're on this like maze. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do that. You don't have to operate like that. Start with the basics. Start with your budget. Start with a spending plan. Start by just looking at where you are. And I think it's important to also make that mindset shift. I am determined to manage my money right. Because if I don't, it doesn't matter how much money comes through that door. Somebody could give you $1 million today and it will still be gone tomorrow if you don't get these basic principles down.
Yeah, that's so important. That's something that we too teach. Even major corporations, guess what? They have a budget, okay? Why do they have to sometimes make cuts and things like that? So if major companies, or if you even aspire to have a successful business or a successful home, what makes you think that you can do that without also having a budget in place, some type of financial management system, looking at the numbers, watching what comes in, what goes out. We tell people that all the time. You can't just wish for this or hope for it. You have to put in the work. You have to also have the tools. There's so many tools out there. You mentioned apps and stuff like that. So many tools out here nowadays that there's really no excuse.
There's no excuse.
None. I had called our insurance agent yesterday, as a matter of fact, because what was I doing? I was looking at what was coming in, what was going out, and I'm like, I need to, have them look at our insurance policies just to make sure we're still in the best package, or, are we missing any, maybe add-ons, or if there's something that we could take off. And you know what she told me? She said, wow, Ty, you're really working me. And I'm like, does she not get a lot of phone calls like this? Because I wasn't working her. I just made a simple phone call. Do you mind checking rates for us, finding other companies, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, wow, you're really working me. And I'm like, wow, well, more people need to work you then.
That's right.
More people need to be asking these questions and looking at the numbers.
I agree. Yes, they do. Absolutely. I was even saying, I was talking to somebody the other day, most companies offer a free, we pay for financial advisors. Most companies offer free financial advising for their employees. Employees do not take advantage of it.
Wow. See, that's something that you're right. You're absolutely right. Just like some companies also pay for counseling, and a lot of people don't take advantage of that. You don't necessarily have to wait. As a matter of fact, we advise that you don't wait for disaster or issues to arise. Financial health is so important. So check your companies. That's a great, great tip. Check the companies and your employers that you work with and find out if they have any of those that you can take advantage of.
Somebody didn't believe you when you said that you coach people with multiple six figures and they're living paycheck to paycheck, because they're living paycheck to paycheck, but they don't make no multiple six figures.
Let me tell you.
So unpack that for us. What is the problem?
Let me tell you, doctors, lawyers, multimillionaire business entrepreneurs, okay? Because if I make $1 million and I spend $2 million because I want to ball out, and I'm gonna tell you something. The same thing also with like physicians, $400,000 a year, $200,000 a year. They also have a lot of expenses because look at the hours. I'll just give your listeners this and viewers this example. A physician works a lot of hours. We look at them, they make a lot of money. They drive nice cars, nice houses. They work a ton of hours. They've got a lot of expenses related to their profession, like a long list of things they have to pay for, certifications and different things to keep their licenses, right? They have to hire a nanny because a physician works how many hours? They have to have someone to clean their house, to watch their kids, to pick their kids up, to take their kids here, there, and everywhere. There's also that whole, the Joneses thing. I have to live in this neighborhood. I want my kids to go to the best schools, and that's important. But all of that adds up. And I don't care if you're making $200,000, $220,000, $400,000 a year. If you've got a couple kids and they're all in private school. I put my daughter in private school. I paid cash, and it was a struggle for me. I was a single parent. people were financing their kids' private school education, because that's what some parents told me. Well, you can finance this. There's programs, and programs would send me information about financing my daughter's private school education. But I knew better than to do that. But these are the kind of things they're hit with. I had a physician, this one wasn't my client, he was my eye doctor. He told me about all of the companies that reach out to him to sell him loans. Get a loan on your equipment, get a loan on this, get a loan on that. So trust me, you may not see it because you're not in that world, but think about every profession has its own little world. So, and my client ended up having to sell her house, downsize, and one of her friends, they were going off to some fancy vacation. She said, I just looked her in the eye and I said, look, I'm about to be bankrupt. I have to sell my house. Mm-hmm. And she was like, whoa. So it's not about how much you make. It is about how you handle it all day long.
Does your credit score have you down and looking for solutions? You may just find the answers you're looking for with Credit Sesame. Credit Sesame is your solution for a free no-hassle credit score, credit analysis, and tips for managing your money. They are here to help you take control of and have the tools you need to bring about a bright financial future. Get empowered today. There's no credit card required. Receive identity theft protection up to $50,000 and discover a marketplace for credit and loan officers that will help you get to your next level. Visit hisandhermoney.com/credit sesame for more details.
So you at the beginning talked about the importance of creating a financial life plan.
Yes.
And now right here, you were saying that at one point you were a single mother and you made the decision that despite the fact that I'm a single mother and I'm trying to figure things out and I'm juggling a lot, it was important to you for your daughter to go to private school. So I have a couple questions right there. How did you figure out or prioritize the things that were important to you, and how did that affect how you handled your finances?
Well, I have to own a lot of it up to, church. I was going to a church at the time, and they were teaching us just about raising our kids, being good parents. And as a single parent, I just didn't want, not on top of the money thing, I just didn't want my kids to lack anything. And for my youngest daughter, my oldest daughter, I couldn't afford it at all. My youngest daughter, I was making more money, but still the private school tuition was a struggle for me. And when she didn't do well in school, I was like, let me tell you something. You better get your life together, honey, because you'll be right back over here on the east side going to this neighborhood school, and you don't want that. So for me, I want her to get a great education. We lived on the side of town. It's wonderful. It's still wonderful now, but there are some challenges, in the inner city. I couldn't afford to move. So the best thing was to put her in this school, which was affiliated with our church. And that was a priority for me. My faith was important and her education was important. And she was getting both there. So that was the priority for me. And so I just cut back. I had some expenses, but they weren't as much. All of that was quite a learning experience for me. I made some mistakes even during that time financially, but paying that tuition was a priority for me.
So is that a part of the process that you teach in regards to creating a financial life plan, is taking a look at not just today or not even just a year from now, but really projecting out further from a financial standpoint and figuring out what things are important to you and applying your money in those directions?
That's exactly what the financial life plan is about. I looked at it and I said, we plan for every other area of our life, but we don't have a financial life plan. So that's what I offered. It starts 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plan. And also the other way it came about was just thinking about how wealthy people plan. I was reading a book about how they created the legacies for their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and how they had money set aside for all of that. And I thought, people do not have a financial life plan. So what that entails is, okay, your life insurance, it's a holistic approach. Your life insurance, depending on your age, long-term care insurance, wills, Trust. Have you talked to attorneys about these things? Investments. So maybe you can't invest right now. Maybe the only investing you can do right now is a 401k with your company. Awesome. That's still investing. But in 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, when do you want to start with investing in a mutual fund, investing in a Roth, that kind of thing? Maybe in 3 years, you want to go on a vacation. Maybe you've got a dream vacation or just a vacation you want to take. When will you be able to do that? Definitely, we always talk about the insurances, because insurances, we all know, people do not feel like they, can afford, or maybe sometimes they don't even need insurance. Sometimes it's more of a case of, I'm just trying to eat right now. So insurance is not on my radar, but you have to show them how affordable it is, so they're not stuck. But that's exactly what the financial life plan is about, so that they can project out 3, 5, 10 years. Where do I want to be in my career and in my money?
In the beginning of our conversation, you talked about networking. So how important is networking as far as like career progression, and what are some tips that you can give so that we all can be effective networkers?
Networking is important. I can see how people can be over it really fast, because you go to these events, it seems like it's more of a business card competition. Who can get the most business cards? But when it comes to networking, what I tell people is, you want to start within your organization. What events are they having? Are there professional groups that you can join? I think this is the best way, if you're planning to stay with that company, that you can network. Join the groups. Get on the softball league. You know what I mean? Join the bowling league. Go to some of the after work mixers. Don't just get in your car and go on home and start, try to do some of those things so people can get to know who you are. Because one thing that people say, I hear this in every session, they're like, they get on my nerves. I just sit at my desk, I do my work, and then I just go home. I don't talk to anybody. I don't bother anybody. I do my job. And I'm like, okay. But remember those smoke-filled room conversations? If nobody knows who Dorethia is, nobody has had a conversation with me to know the kind of person I am, how can they recommend me for a promotion? How can they say, oh, yeah, I worked with her on such and such. She was real cool. She did a great job, too. They can't, because you just gave the information and you went on your merry little way. So networking is not only those events outside, even your morning good morning is a networking, okay? Because how many people just come in? I talk about this all the time. They come in. I'm a Southern girl, so manners are important to me. You come in the morning, say good morning.
Hello.
You walk right by people and you don't say good morning. You leave at night, say good night. You don't have to go to everybody's desk. Just do a nice good night. You guys have a good night. People do not do this, okay? That is your brand at work. That is your soft skills. That is manners. You know what I mean? So go to the events. People are, especially for introverts, I know sometimes it's hard. For anyone that is an introvert, guy or male or female, you must read Shonda Rhimes' The Year of Yes. She is awesome. Even if you're not an introvert, I'm not an introvert, as you all can probably well tell. But the book was awesome. And for introverts, she talks about networking. She talks about events. It's an awesome book. But you just go to the events. You just try to find some common ground. Okay, how did you hear about this event? Oh, so how long have you been with your organization? How do you like it there? What is the company culture? That kind of thing. Even with your colleagues who are in the same company that you are, just get to know them. How long have you been with the company? Okay, so have you worked for many people here? How do you feel about the culture? And then it doesn't even have to just be about work. It can be, so what do you guys do on the weekends? Add some social aspects of it so that you just don't seem like, all you do is work. There has to be some likability in there somewhere when you're
100%.
network.
I think that you hear the term brand a lot when you're talking about entrepreneurship, or if you have this budding business that you want to create. And so you hear, you read, you study about building a brand. But the same goes for you on your job. You are a brand. And if you're not working to build your personal brand within your organization, I think you're doing yourself a disservice, like you said, because nobody knows who you are. Nobody understands you as a person. Nobody knows your personal life. And so you're never going to be nobody's pick. You're never going to be nobody's recommendation when these conversations are being had when you're not present because you haven't taken the time to build your personal brand within your organization.
Exactly. I agree 100%.
Now, one thing that I think is tough for a lot of people in today, 2018 and beyond, is the advent of social media makes things, you see a lot of things that you aspire to become all day, every time you log into one of these apps. Now, you're telling us we need to be thinking down the road. We need to be thinking about 3, 5, 10 years down the road. And we need to be making decisions and moves today that will positively affect us down the road. But sometimes it's hard to be patient and to do the things today that will manifest 5 years from now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I just saw this girl I went to high school with in London. And I've always wanted to go to London, but I can't go to London because I've got all this other stuff going on. So now I'm sad about my current situation. So how do you kind of maintain the discipline to be patient in this process? Because everything you're teaching us involves a process, a start to finish process. It's not things that will happen overnight. It's things that will benefit us and fortify us for years to come. But how do we fight the distractions that social media bring in order to remain patient in the process?
I'm going to tell you, I think it's something that I even look, sometimes I have to turn certain people off. I'm like, oh man, you see people and they're doing great things. But what I always remind myself, number one, is that I celebrate with others, right? The other thing is, you don't know what that person, this is that person's time, right? So you want to celebrate because when your time comes, you want someone to celebrate with you. So we can't get that little gut like, dang, why isn't that me? But at the same time, you have to be patient. You don't know that maybe that took that person 10 years. Maybe that was 10 years in the making. Maybe it did happen overnight. But you can't be focused on what other people are doing. And if you find yourself, I'm telling you, my hand is raised. I've had to do this. I have had to either turn people off or get off of social media, because if you start looking at someone else's success with a spirit of jealousy or I'm not there, or getting down on yourself, you will be stagnant, because you'll kind of get down on yourself and you won't make any moves. So you have to keep in mind, like, oh, Dorothea's doing that. That's awesome for her. Now I'm going to keep working my plan and planning my work. So it just has to be a constant reminder that you are on a process, that you're going to reach your goals. Those goals, you don't know what their goals exactly were. So you can't kind of put yourself in their position. Their journey is different. Your journey is yours. Stick to your journey. It is a constant mindset shift that you have to be making. Social media will put you in a tailspin. It will. I'm going to tell you something. If I see one more of my friends standing next to Oprah, I'm going to have a problem. I talked to my girlfriend. Me and her went to Black Enterprise Conference together. Love her. She's killing it out here in the nonprofit world. I see she's next to Oprah. I said, girl, why didn't you call me? You know I love Oprah. What is going on here? So you see what I'm saying? And that's exactly what came to mind. Then next thing I see her, she on stage with Belle Biv DeVoe doing the lyrics with them. I said, you know what? This is for the birds. You know what I mean? So you can't get caught up in that. I know I'm going to meet Oprah, Stedman, and the Obamas. My day is coming, and I'm just holding on and celebrating with them. But if you have to, I'm telling you, if you have to turn that social media off, please turn it off. Even with other things with social media, it can make you sad. Just scrolling through with things that are going on, or like you guys said, with the successes of other people, and you wish that was you, and you turn it off, get on your computer, put the work in. That's what I say, because it can be a distraction, a major distraction.
Yeah, for sure. It could definitely be a distraction. Something that we love to do is it actually inspires us too. We're like, hey, if they can do it, I know I can do it. So, hey, congrats to you. Like you said, I'm going to meet Oprah. Okay. You matter, that's good, but I'm going to meet her too. Okay. Yeah. So I love that.
But you say it with a sense of, not a sense of arrogance.
No,
you know what I mean?
no,
like,
no.
Yes.
If they can do it, I can do it. But you got to have the right heart to say, you know what, man, if they're able to do it,
it's
you know,
doable.
I have the same ability. You know what I mean?
Right.
I have the same potential. I just, like you said, I just got to work my plan and I'll get there too.
Yeah. And you're so right. Turn off the distractions. If something's distracting you, turn it off, you know, so you can continue to reach your goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And let that inspire you. Just like you said, let it inspire you.
Yeah.
Versus making you feel like you're not accomplishing anything.
For sure. For sure. Now, what about someone that may be at a current job and maybe they don't really like it or love it that much? What would you say to them on far as like how do they make maybe their situation a lot better? Do they get out of their job, or how can they see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Listen, I have been there. I'm gonna tell them right now that I know it is not easy, but this advice I'm about to give it works. Number one, you want to always operate in your job in excellence. Make sure that you are A1 on point with your work, your attitude, everything. And I know some days you're going to miss the mark. Trust me. When I was in a struggle, I missed the mark some days. But overall, you want to make sure that you're operating in excellence, that you have a right attitude, and that you keep that attitude as if you love your job. That's the first thing. So attitude is important because when you don't like a job, your attitude can shift. I'm living proof. The second thing is start looking for a job. That goes back to those skill sets, right? Work on your professional development. Get your skill sets up so that you can make a transition. But you want to make sure you maintain that attitude because you don't know where your transition is going to come from. It might come from internal. It might come from external. One of the first things that I tell people to do when they're like, I hate my job, I say, okay, prepare yourself as if you're going to leave this job tomorrow. Get your resume and cover letter together. Start going out there and looking for jobs. Check out the landscape. Start going on interviews so you can brush up on those skills. But this is what people will find. I had a mentee who found this quick. You know, you check out the landscape, you hate your job, and you go out there, you know, and if there's a lot of jobs out there, it's the land of plenty. You know, you shoot your shot, you go on interviews. But if there's famine in the land and you can't find anything that's going to meet your pay requirements or that you like better than what you're doing, sit tight, keep improving your skills. You might find something internal or external. I'm telling you, it was really an eye opener. I did have someone who was just complaining about their job until they started looking for another one. And then they realized what they had was better than what was out there. Now, that may not be someone's case. And if that's not the case, you do the first thing I said. Keep your attitude tight. Start looking for a job. Get your resume together. You know, and again, back to that point of while you're waiting, don't have the mindset of I'm just going to go to work, do my job, be quiet. I'm not going to bother anybody, and I hope don't nobody bother me. Don't do that because you never know where your blessing is coming from. I'm going to tell you, I was at a job, and I was working with somebody. I had just gotten there, and I thought she was trying to get me fired. And one day, I got up, and I was on my way to make a wrong move. And one of my colleagues stopped me and said, Dorethia, don't let these people knock you off your square. Come on, let's cool down. Come on back over here. I tell you, I worked for her. I ended up working for this person 3-4 years later, the best boss I ever had. So I was so glad that I had, you know, some restraint. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't, you could have never told me I'd be working for her. Never. She was the best boss I ever had. So I'm just telling you, continue to be pleasant, work on your skill set, professional development, and prepare yourself. Try not to complain. I've been in this position, so I know it's hard not to complain because it seems like every day they doing something real dumb. But I'm telling you, for a year I went through this. But don't worry about that. You just keep doing your thing. And if you have to complain, don't complain at work. Call your girlfriend, call your best guy and say, look, dude, I can't believe what these guys are doing. Don't complain at work to your coworkers because it can get out and that won't be good for you. So that definitely start preparing yourself to make a move. That's what I would say.
Now, earlier you mentioned, I believe you said it's The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes.
Yes.
Are there any other books for people who are heeding your advice and they want to develop themselves and they want to start the process of becoming better and positioning themselves to prosper in their careers? Are there any other books you would recommend them to check out?
Yes, there are. When I first started my career, graduated, I started as a financial analyst for a hospital system. One of the first books I read, and I was so glad to find out, I recommended this to somebody last year, that they're still doing editions of this book. It's called Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office by Louis Frankel. That book is a great book. A couple others are The New Rules of Work. It's changing. It's called The New Rules of Work, The Modern Playbook for Navigating Your Career. Things are just different out here. And then one that I actually have in my Amazon cart now is called The First 90 Days, Proven Strategies for Getting Up to Speed Faster, Smarter when you start a job. So those are a couple of books I think will get people going real well.
Yeah, that's great. We'll make sure we have the links in the show notes or in the description box if you're watching this on YouTube. Now, tell everybody more about your website and how they can stay in contact with you.
Absolutely. Please visit DorotheaKelly.com, DORETHIA Kelly.com, where you'll see the coaching service that I offer, as well as links to my book and blog. Join the email list. I have a free course called Rock Your Money Chat, where people can get their money on track in 8 weeks, completely free.
Very nice. And we'll be sure to have those links in the show notes of this episode as well. Everybody go and check out DorotheaKelly.com today.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you coming and sharing this wealth of information with everybody, getting them prepared to go and be the best on their jobs that they can be in order to prosper down the line. Thank you so much for sharing this info with us today.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me on. This was so much fun.